Welcome to the Sooners 360 Recruiting Podcast, a podcast for OU recruiting fans by Sooners 360. Each week, we catch you up on the latest in OU recruiting news and provide opinions and evaluations on all things OU football recruiting. I'm Chris Mason, lead recruiting analyst for Sooners 360. This podcast is now sponsored by Sooners 360 on Patreon. To support this podcast, please go to patreon.com/Sooners 360817 or simply search on Patreon for Sooners 360. Once you're at that page, you can just click subscribe. It's only $2 a month. There's also a free trial option, and that's where I'm posting all of my recruiting updates on a regular basis. The link will also be in the show notes. Also, this podcast is now part of the Believe podcast family. Every team, every topic, everywhere. I'm also appearing weekly on the Horns Down podcast YouTube channel, discussing OU season and everything related to the OU football program, along with the Hall of Fame podcast from Jason Watkins. He also joins us. We have some very spirited conversations about OU topics. So please like and subscribe to my YouTube channel, the Sooners 360 YouTube channel. Just go to YouTube, search Sooners 360 to find it. And that way you'll be notified every time we have a live session. We're usually doing them on Thursdays. If you're following me on Twitter, I'll also start posting those updates there. So this is episode 125. Verbal drought is over. More relief on the way. So we'll jump right into the recruiting news. And we have a verbal commitment. The first one since Daniel Odom, I believe in January. So it's been a long drought. Usually we saw some activity around the spring game. But since OU didn't have a spring game, we didn't get a verbal around the spring game, which we've usually seen in years past. So it's been a long drought, not unexpected with OU shuffling the deck with their offer lists, making more offers, Nagy providing feedback to Brent about what the target table should look like. So that's really taken a big momentum dip away from OU a little bit. OU trying to refigure out where they're going to be. But also generally, OU makes their hay in recruiting during the official visit season. And OU, due to Brent's policy of visit us last, OU is going to get visits in June and not going to get visits in April or May. A lot of schools are using big weekends in May. SMU just had a big weekend. And a lot of schools are using official visits here and there. OU's only used one official visit so far for right around the Crimson Combine for Breck College, the big offensive guard from IMG. He's somewhere on OU's interior offensive guard board. I'm not sure where he is in terms of the take list. A couple of players I think are probably ahead of him, although one did just drop off, and we'll get to that in a minute. So OU's verbal commitment is, as you've probably seen, is safety / cheetah linebacker Nico Jandro from Chandler, Arizona. He plays for Hamilton High School. He's listed anywhere from 185 to 200, from 6'1" to 5'11". I'm going to go with 5'11", 200 right now. That looks right. That's what On3 has. It's a little confusing because when you pull up images of Nico and his twin brother, Bo, who OU is also recruiting. We'll get to that more a little bit in a minute. Some of the photos, they look really bulked up, and in other images, they look kind of leaned up. So it's kind of hard to know what their actual, real size is. But I think he's right around 5'11". That would be my guess. I've watched his film again. I've watched his highlight. I've only watched his highlight reel, so I'm going off the 4 minutes of his highlight reel here. So I just watched it again before this podcast. I would say his pros are he's extremely physical. Just really physical. His straight line speed, go forward speed is excellent, as is his acceleration. He's constantly making plays around the line of scrimmage. He kind of drops back and then will blitz and attack both the run and the short passing game, and he's very effective in disrupting both of those. Those what I would say are his biggest pros. He's super physical, which tends to lean towards some plays which in college would be considered targeting. OU coaches can clean that up, but maybe I don't know if this is a pro or a negative. He's trying to blow everyone up on every play. He's bringing malintent to offensive players. So he fits the Brent defense and the kind of toughness that Brent wants there. Again, negative and a positive. His best plays are all line of scrimmage or in the backfield. He's making tackles for loss. On a negative side, in his highlight reel, and again, he's listed as a safety. There are no interceptions and no passes defended. There are very few plays where you see him really in coverage to any great extent. He does blow up a wide receiver who catches a ball. It's probably targeting, but he does stop a catch that way. There aren't that many highlights that show his lateral speed or agility or change of direction. It very much fits attacking downhill. I told you guys the service rankings may not like some of the changes OU was making to recruiting. I've mentioned that in pods, mentioned that on Patreon, and the services aren't generally very impressed by Nico. ESPN hasn't ranked him. He is a high 3 by Rivals, but he's a middle 3-star by On3 and 247. I think this is sort of a niche fit. I don't think Nico would work in every defense, but I think Nico probably works as a cheetah in the OU defense, which is fine. As long as you play him at cheetah, I think he has the potential if you can round out some of the other things. And again, he may have more coverage ability. It's just not highlights. It's not in his highlights. I don't know what else to tell you. I haven't had time to look at more game footage or go over more of his games. But right now, that would be the biggest issue I would have with this addition. He's a perfect fit from a physical toughness standpoint, and I could see how he would work as a big cheetah at maybe 5'11", 200 pounds, similar to the way OU may use Reggie Powers at cheetah. I don't think Nico has the coverage skills of Reggie Powers, but he's more of when I watch his film, I guess it looks more like a linebacker playing safety. That's what I see. So from my amateur viewpoint. So I'm gonna reach out to some other folks and try and get some other opinions and see if I'm not giving Nico his full credit. But regardless, I think he works as a cheetah. I think he works perfectly fine for the OU defense. I think he could easily be a cheetah. I wonder if he could be a 3-down cheetah with all that OU does in terms of coverage from the cheetah position. So it's an interesting. Brandon Hall obviously is a big fan. He was out in Arizona visiting him recently. So Brandon Hall, has done a good job recruiting safety. So I'll defer to him there. But if OU's taking Nico as a cheetah, I kind of really need to see 2 other real coverage safeties in this class. So we'll see how that balances out. As a cheetah, for what OU does, he flashes a lot of the skills that would seem to be that he would be a perfect fit for that niche role, specific role in the OU defense. As long as he's backed up by other coverage safeties, I think this is a perfectly good addition for the OU defense. Now, the other side story to this is he has a twin brother, Bo, who's from Arizona too. Bo's a little bigger. He's listed at 6'1", 215. I can buy those measurements. And now that OU has Nico, everyone's expecting OU to land Bo. He's a linebacker on film. He's a linebacker playing linebacker. Depending upon which photo you believe is him at 215, I do wonder if he can carry the extra 20 pounds to play Mike, because he's a Mike linebacker. He's not flashing a lot of will skills based upon his film. And it's interesting because he doesn't resemble the most recent linebacker offers, who are all 6'3 plus with long, large frames. The Ben Weisel kid from Wisconsin, Mason Martin from St. Louis, Braxton Lindsay from Arkansas. So he doesn't really match up with those guys. And OU has will linebacker targets and Ja'Cory Smith and I'm trying to just grab a name here, Keenan Harris, who we'll talk about a little bit later. They've got some will guys who are much more of the will frame you expect for OU, with fantastic, who's flashing sideline to sideline elite speed and good coverage skills. So I'll be interested to see where this shakes out. OU does seem to be looking for a Stutzman type replacement, a 6'3", 6'4", 235-pound linebacker with range, long frame at Mike. And Bo is not that. And I don't think he's suited for the will. So we'll have to see how this shakes out. I could see him as part of a 3 linebacker class where he's kind of in the middle there between a true Mike and a true Will, and you sort of slot him in between as sort of a combo guy. So we'll see how that works out. It looks Nico's niche at Cheetah seems more defined to me. I just think some of the other linebackers OU is recruiting seem to be a better fit for what their recent offers are, what they're recently doing. Like James Nesta is 6'3", he's got a long frame. Taylor Heim has a long frame. The linebacker from Oklahoma City that is enrolling this summer, he's 6'3", 6'4", too. So, Bo's a little bit of an outlier in terms of a Mike linebacker at 6 foot, 6'1". So we'll see how all that plays out. Since it's been like 9 days since I gave you guys a podcast, I'll just recap the news about Whit Neubauer. Obviously, OU picked up one more portal addition in Whit Neubauer, the quarterback from Mercer. He played in 9 games last year. Beat Cole Gonzalez's Western Carolina team. He played against Alabama last year. So I think in terms of an emergency third-string quarterback, OU did very well after losing Cole Gonzalez to Pitt. And he's apparently going to fight for the Pitt starting job. So Cole made a smart move, because I think after spring he figured out that he was behind Mike Hawkins Jr. as the second-string quarterback, wasn't really competing against Mateer for the starting job, and went somewhere where he can get starting experience. And he's following a coach of his to Pitt. So OU, did a good job. I think Neubauer, like I said, he's got good experience. He's a big kid, 6'6", 220. He's got a good arm. And he threw a touchdown pass against Alabama. And, his stats were moderate at Mercer. He only played in 9 games. But I think in terms of just experience and giving you an emergency third-string quarterback, I'm not sure they weren't really expecting to lose Cole Gonzalez, to be honest, I think. So I think based upon everything that occurred, OU did a good job backfilling this spot and giving themselves a experienced third-string quarterback, allowing them to redshirt Jet New and not have to force him on the field in an SEC. I mean, he's played at Alabama. He's played at Tuscaloosa. So if they need him to play, I think he'll do a good job. So let's move to the recruiting news and notes. So let's just deal with the bad news first. Toa Katoa committed to SMU. This hurts. SMU is putting out money left and right in terms of the Toa Katoa recruiting. They also basically hired a family member to give them an edge in this recruiting battle. He's on Twitter saying he's done recruiting. I think OU probably lets this sit for a couple of weeks and then see if they can convince him to at least visit OU in June. But this is the risk you take with June official visits. Kids see someplace heavy, get a heavy push, get the hard sell from a place that they like, and they commit and they decide they don't want to visit you. So that's the risk you take. Now, cornerback Ryan Gilbert is deciding coming up in a couple of days. It had looked like OU for a couple of months. Several folks are suggesting that it's now going to be SMU. He visited SMU for what I'm affectionately calling their big bag of money weekend, and he was part of that. I'm just not sure that OU is going to match an SMU overbid for Ryan Gilbert. Ryan's a very good player, but if you've read my Patreon, you have an idea of who Nagy is looking for to the positions that Nagy is probably willing to overspend for. And I don't think, and Ryan is a good player, but I don't think he's one of the elite playmakers that Nagy is like, yes, keep bidding. So we'll see how this shakes out. SMU's certainly in a role. He could change his mind and pick Oklahoma, but that's not the way things appear to be going. Now, in positive news, which I really like, and sorry if this podcast is starting on a little bit of a downbeat, even with a commitment. Again, I like Nico at Cheetah. Defensive tackle and big-time target Brian Harris is making a decision May 23rd. He's from Jacksonville, Florida. His final five is a powerhouse five, really, in terms of Oklahoma, South Carolina, who recruits D-line as well as anybody, Alabama, Penn State, and Michigan. So that final five, and he has committable offers from all of them, as I understand it. I know he's a 3-star by some services, he's a 4 on others. But you take that offer list and you look at his film, and Brian Harris is a top 150 composite type talent. Let's not confuse things here. So somewhat surprisingly, when he said he was making his decision, I didn't think OU had a shot here because, again, he hasn't had his official visit to OU, and that tends to be something that enables OU to close on kids. However, Steve Wiltfong is picking OU, and several other people are picking OU, and Harris has certainly been visited by Bates recently enough to make sure that he's a focus. He could be a huge pickup at a key position. Harris is a future 3-down defensive tackle. He stops the run. He provides an interior pass rush, and he's going to be 6'4", 310, 315 after a year on campus. So he never needs to leave the field for you. And again, like David Stone, like other players, 3-down defensive tackles are exactly what you want for a defense, right? Jaden Jackson is a 3-down defensive tackle. Grayson Holton's more of a pass rush specialist. Damian Williams is more of a run stopper, although we'll see what he does this year. So you see kind of you need a mix of guys, and OU needs an elite 3-down. It'd probably be a 3 technique. But again, you can play at 310, 315. You can mix and match where he is on the lineup and do different things with him. So if this sticks, this would be a big addition for OU because OU's looking to add 3 to 4 defensive tackles, and getting Harris would be one of their top choices at 3 tech. OU also has made now a new running back offer, and this is the first real movement. First real action we've seen at running back since Jonathan Hatton chose Texas A&M. If you subscribe to my Patreon, you know I'm not sure that sticks. But For right now, Hatton is verbal to A&M, so OU needs to start working on some other other avenues. So they offered the Zephon, I hope I'm saying that right, Walker from Missouri. He's 6 foot, 205 pounds. 205 pounds. He's got excellent speed and size. Looks like he's got some wiggle to him. He's a three down ability running back. And what I mean that is he runs the ball. He's a good receiver and he blocks. He can do blitz pickup. There's a couple of highlights where he's stoning blitzers and protecting his quarterback. And that's what you want if you're going to spend some money, NIL money. That's what OU wants. A 3-down back like DeMarco was, like Ramondre Stevenson, like Eric Gray, like Kennedy Brooks, someone who can give you 3-down capability and not have to tip anything by putting him on the field or taking him off the field. He's in a post by OU Rivals. Parker Thune had an interview with him. Walker's already talking about taking an official visit to OU. Mentioned Adrian Peterson. That's apparently still works for OU in running back recruiting 20 years later. So it's an interesting, we'll see where that goes, but he would be an interesting pickup. He's probably around a top 200, top 250 guy right now. Like I said, I really love his film. It looks kind of surprised he's not verbal somewhere already and not been getting a little more hype. So this could be a good pickup for OU at running back. In case they're unable to make any pathway back to Hatton, or they could just decide to take this kid. As we talk about I was talking about linebacker recruiting quite a bit when talking about Bo Jandro. And one of the names that I mentioned was Keenan Harris, and he has confirmed his official visit for OU June 6th through June 8th. Looks like it's an OU, Iowa, and maybe Missouri battle. Now, Harris is an absolutely perfect fit for the will linebacker role for OU. He has the frame to carry 225, 230, and he'll attack sideline to sideline. He's good in coverage. He's comfortable in space. Just a perfect fit for OU at will linebacker. So let's hope this follows through. OU coaches have been racking up some frequent flyer miles lately. The winner in this is linebacker coach Nate Dreiling, because he's recently been to Hawaii. OU big-time linebacker target Talanoa Eli was playing in California, and I think he's going to play his senior year in Hawaii to be closer to his family. Nate Dreiling was in Hawaii with Talanoa Eli. Looks like USC has jumped into a lead there. But if OU can get him on campus for an official visit, all bets are maybe off there. And Eli at 6'3.5", 220, physical, athletic is the ideal Mike linebacker in this class. He would be a huge upgrade in terms of when you just watch his film. He's a playmaking superstar. So we'll see where it goes. USC's in there. Oregon's obviously still in there. It's going to be a battle, but if OU can get him on campus, I think they at least have a puncher's chance. Todd Bates was back again in Virginia to visit Valdin Sone lately. He's been there 2 times in the last 8 days. That should tell you how much Todd Bates thinks about Valdin. Valdin he's a big kid. He's 6'4", 320. He would be a nose guard that you would never have to take off. I mean, he'll stuff the run, but he's also got that upside to provide some pass rush. So he would be the ideal big defensive tackle in this class, the nose guard in this class. If you could get Harris and then close on Sone, then you could either add Taj Overton or Tavion Branch, or maybe some of the other defensive tackles OU's been looking at, and that would be a good 3-player class if you could make that work. So OU's also been back out to Georgia. They're visiting wide receiver Craig Dandridge, who is about 6'1", 175. He's from Milton, Georgia. OU's pushing heavily for Dandridge to make an official visit to Norman. Dandridge on film he's making plays. He's got elite speed. He's got that elite wiggle. Um, he's a 4-star right now by everybody. He could easily be a top 100 national player. He has that kind of elite talent level. In terms of OU's been making a bunch of offers, and we've got at least 3 of the new offers look like they're going to visit OU officially. Defensive end Marcus Nelson, who's 6'5", 220 from Arkansas. He's unranked right now, but I've watched his film. It's a top 250, top 300 film at a minimum, and he's not hit his potential. He's an unreal athlete. He does the 60-meter hurdles at 6'5", 220, which is insane. And he's so twitchy, so long frame. He could easily be 6'5", 245 and be a rush end. So there's a lot of potential there. And then OU's has been visiting and working on an official visit from Dallas Dickerson, the other wide receiver from Georgia they want. He's 6'1", 180. He's a track guy. He's posted a 10.36 100 meters this year. When you watch his film, you see that track speed. He is literally breaking away, accelerating away from players that have angles on him. He's just flying past them, just extending the gaps. No one's catching him. He's got a little wiggle to him as well, but he gets upfield. He knows that he's got the speed to beat anyone, so he does that. Then OU's offered Daniel Norman, who is a top 150 prospect by On3, and several of the services have him as a 4-star. He's a defensive end. Daniel Norman is 6'4", 6'5", 240 pounds from Florida. He has the film to back up that high rating. I believe he's at St. Thomas Aquinas High School in his area, which is where OU got Nick Benito from, is a powerhouse, always producing kids. So defensive end recruiting has just gotten a little interesting with some of those players, especially with KJ Ford saying, I'm not going to visit OU until the fall. I don't know if Nelson or Norman were to visit this summer and verbal, whether they would take a spot away from Ford or not. I don't know. But it's something interesting to see. I love the most of the recent offers OU's been making. The film just backs it up. They're athletes. They're fast, long, rangy guys. So definitely fitting in with sort of the NFL measurables mantra that that Nagy has been talking about in various interviews. He talks about it's a traits league. And when you talk about Nelson, Dickerson, Norman, and Dandridge, and Sone, and Harris, Keenan Harris, and Brian Harris, they all have those traits. So, and Walker as well at running back. So they're all putting out those traits. So OU has put out 2 new offers for 2026 that I want to talk about, because OU is making a push to get a second tight end in this class. Ryder Mix has been in the class since last June when he camped at OU. He's an OU legacy. His dad played baseball at OU. He's an excellent 2-way tight end, badly underrated. He's a 4-star by at least one service. But if you just look at some of his end-of-the-year footage during their playoff run, his high school's playoff run, he's playing an excellent 2-way tight end. He can block, and he can get downfield. He can be a receiver. So OU's got one good tight end, but that room really needs to be refreshed with talent. So OU wants to try and sign a second tight end. And in the last week or so, they've offered 2 guys. They offered one guy today, Jack Severs, tight end from Washington State. He's 6'4", 230. He's a 4-star by ESPN. He's a good track guy. I've watched his film. He's very athletic. He plays defensive end and tight end. At defensive end, he's very physical, got good burst to him, good athleticism. At tight end, he flashes as well. He's blocking, very willing blocker. Does a good job getting into the seams in the middle of the defense, being open. They do some end around plays with him at tight end where he shows his speed and his athleticism. He's making making big plays out of those. It's kind of like the Keith Jackson reverse a little bit. So he looks good. And then they've offered Tyler Ruxer from Indiana. He's 6'4", 220. He's a 4-star by On3 in the top 200 by them. Again, he's a good 2-way tight end. does a good job blocking, very physical, willing blocker, but also does a good job receiving, getting open, and making plays. So hopefully OU can get these kids on campus, make their pitch, and pick up a second tight end, which I think would be a huge win in the tight end room if OU could just restock it a little bit. All right, now I'm going to hit you with a blitz of new offers for 2027, okay? So not sure all of these will be in play for OU. Some of them undoubtedly will be. But here goes, because it's a talented list of kids. So the first one is Ishmael Kamara from the Dallas area. He's an offensive tackle. He's 6'6", 330. Really good mobility for his size. If he drops some weight and firms up, he could probably be ranked even higher. But he just won the Rivals Camp O-Line Award, and he is a top 100 player nationally right now. OU just offered Grant Haviland, a tight end from Georgia. He's 6'5", 220, and he was just ranked as a top 50 player in the nation by Rivals. OU just offered interior offensive lineman Tristan Dare from the Dallas area, for the Dallas area. He's 6'4", 290. He also did a good job at the Rivals Camp, looked really good. Right now, he's top 50 in Texas. I would imagine he'll move up into a four-star territory. They just offered Mark Matthews. He's 6'6", 280 from Florida. He's from St. Thomas, the aforementioned St. Thomas Aquinas football factory. And he is a top 10 national player regardless of position. OU also offered Kennedy Brown, who's 6'5", 285 from Houston. He's been dominating camps. He's top 5 nationally. I think OU would like to get him up for a camp experience to work with Bill. We'll see if they're able to do that. But he could be the number 1 offensive tackle in the country. OU also offered Jaden Carey from Florida. He's a cornerback, 6'1", 170, top 300 nationally right now. They went back out to California to offer a wide receiver, Quinton Hale. He's 6'3", 180 pounds. Just started a recent camp that got posted. Some of those notes got posted on Twitter. He's top 100 nationally. And then OU offered a guy. I haven't watched his film yet. I really should go look at it. But it's 2027, so I'll look at some of these guys' films. I'll look at this guy definitely. His name is Luke Starshevic. He's definitely like Croatian or something like that. His last name is Starcevic. So Starchik. It depends how the Cevic is pronounced. So kind of heard it all different ways. He's 6'5", 255 from North Dakota. And right now he is a composite top 150 player nationally. So OU looking at, always looking all over the country at film, and apparently looked at Starchik's film and decided he was worth an offer. So OU's broken the verbal drought. Hopefully there's some momentum coming in recruiting. Hopefully we won't lose too many prospects in the May timeframe, so that the official visits going on in June are productive. Thanks everyone for listening. Make sure you subscribe to the podcast and don't forget to leave a rating. Again, please visit patreon.com/Sooners360817 to do a trial subscription. The recruiting content on there on Sooners 360 on Patreon, those accounts directly support this podcast and keep this podcast free. Thanks, everyone.